Hey everyone, Dr. Abel Cunningham here, Bigfoot scientist. I'm here out in the beautiful wilderness, home of the Bigfoot Ranch, hundreds of acres owned by yours truly, where we're hoping to establish a sanctuary for Bigfoot. But that aside, I wanted to read an interesting email that I'd received the other day. Now, those of you who subscribe to my channel, you're likely aware that most of these videos I reserve for witness encounters. You know, people who have seen Bigfoot, have had an experience with Bigfoot, something of that nature. This one is a little bit different. I can't say I've ever received a letter like this before. It's more of like a plea for help than it is a direct witness encounter. But let's just jump in and you'll see what I'm talking about here. So here goes. Dr. Cunningham, I was hoping I could ask for your assistance with a rather important matter. I'm somewhat of a public figure, so I'm unable to provide you with my real name, but you can call me Little Jimmy. That's what my wife calls me. Okay, Little Jimmy, I'm going to try not to read too much into what that might mean. But anyways, I am a celebrated investigative journalist, published author of several books, including two true crime thrillers. Oh, okay, buddy, if you say so. I love when people toot their own horn like that. Again, in the interest of discretion, I won't disclose the titles of the books or the missing persons cases they cover, but you may be able to deduce who I am and what case we're talking about based on the following details. Okay. You see, one case has really been driving me insane. It happened in your neck of the woods, so I thought perhaps you might be able to lend your expertise. Okay, let's see where this goes. About 20 years ago, a college student from UMass disappeared in northern New Hampshire after crashing her car on a state highway. Since then, I dedicated myself to earning a living, solving the case 15 years ago, and so far I've come up with nothing. Absolutely nothing. Not a useful clue, not a theory that makes any sense, and I certainly haven't solved anything yet. What's worse is the victim's family hates me and has referred to me as a grifter publicly and repeatedly. Even my own fan club of totally unqualified Reddit detectives, or turds for short, are starting to turn against me. It's getting to the point where I'm doing things that might be embarrassing if I had any shame whatsoever. I even got kicked out of CrimeCon for arguing with the victim's family. Okay, I think I know who this is and where this is going, but let's finish the letter and we'll get to that. I need to do something. I'm running out of wacky theories about this disappearance. I've tried she started a new life in Canada, and I've accused pretty much everyone who lives within 10 miles of the crash site of committing murder. I've accused her classmates at UMass, her father, her boyfriend, and pretty much everyone I can think of. I have even accused people who are proven to be thousands of miles away. People are starting to get skeptical that I might be able to solve this. Yeah, I can see why, Little Jimmy. So that's why I'm reaching out. In your professional opinion, is it possible that Bigfoot snatched this victim? It seems to be the only angle that I have not explored. Thank you for your assistance, Little Jimmy. Wow. What can I say? I think I know who Little Jimmy is. But, even though he is publicly named, literally dozens, if not hundreds of people as suspects in committing murder, and has no respect whatsoever for their privacy, I'm not that kind of guy. So I will respect his privacy, and I won't specifically say who I think Little Jimmy might be. But I think I know what case he's talking about, and maybe you can deduce from there who Little Jimmy is. So I'm gonna just look at my notes here. I think the case he's referring to is the disappearance of Maura Murray. It kind of checks all the boxes. She was going to school at UMass at the time. She crashed her car on Route 12 up in Haverhill, New Hampshire. She hasn't been seen since, and there is a certain failed journalist turned author who's been rather publicly involved in the case and who I know has earned the ire of the family, I guess I should say. So It's really been, a heartbreaking experience for Maura's family. They just want answers in terms of what has happened to her father. Fred is still alive, and her sister Julie's still alive. They just want what answers as to what happened to their daughter or sister. And my heart really goes out to them. And I can't imagine ever going through something like that. And I can only imagine that it's been made even more difficult by having a troll like little Jimmy, who was a failed journalist. He was fired from his job as a gossip reporter for some crappy newspaper in Ohio. Again, if this is the guy I'm thinking about, and I'm not going to name him, but you can put two and two together here. He was fired from his job as a journalist for, basically not doing the things that journalists do. Things like check your sources, have sources, not make up a bunch of bullshit. So he lost his job as a journalist. While he was unemployed, he decided that he was going to exploit and misrepresent the disappearance and quite possibly death of a real person. Kind of like DP Dave from Missing 411 fame, but with a little less imagination. And, DP Dave, you gotta say, is kind of a handsome guy in like a 90s porn star kind of way. No one would ever say that about little Jimmy. Again, if it's what I'm talking about. His face resembles a potato. It looks like he can't even find a toothbrush, so I don't know how he's going to find a missing person. He can't find a toothbrush or a dentist. I mean, you see him on TV, and you hear his Weasley voice coming through the TV, and his teeth are so bad, it feels like you can practically smell his bad breath coming through the TV. So, before I go any further, and sorry, I should have started with this, let me be clear. Bigfoot did not snatch Maura Murray. I'm 100% certain of that, and the reason I am is because at the time of her disappearance, I was studying, I was completing my PhD work, UNH, for my degree in Bigfoot science, and we had a pretty good handle on all the Bigfoots that were in the state, and any Bigfoots that were potentially in the area of the crash where she disappeared, they've all been investigated and cleared of any wrongdoing. So Bigfoot did not snatch Maura Murray. I'm not here to make up more ridiculous theories about her disappearance. I think there's enough grifters out there like little Jimmy making up a bunch of bullshit about this poor missing girl. So I'm not going to jump on that bandwagon. But really what happened, Laura, I think it happened February, let me look at my notes. February 9, 2004, so 20 years ago, just like little Jimmy said in his letter. She crashed a car on Route 12 near Woodsville, New Hampshire. I think it was actually in Haverhill, New Hampshire. Woodsville, I think, is a village within Haverhill. And, she'd been drinking at the time of the accident. There was alcohol spilled all over her car. There was an open container in the car. Her license was also suspended at the time. She declined help from a neighbor. And by the time the police arrived, she was gone. I think anybody who's been in that situation can relate to that. You're putting a few back on the road. I mean, not that it's right, but a lot of us have been there and don't have a driver's license. I can't say I've ever experienced that, but what's going to happen if the cops show up? You're going to jail. So I'm sure she just got the heck out of there, beat feet. Who knows what happened from there? Again, I'm not going to speculate. But a simple answer like that wasn't enough for little Jimmy. And he realized that, obviously that's not going to sell a lot of books, and he needed to sell some books because he was out of work. So he made up a bunch of bullshit, like he said in his letter, basically accusing everybody in the state of New Hampshire of having something to do with her disappearance. And like he said in his letter, to this day, none of the leads that little Jimmy has produced, and I say leads with air quotes because none of them are actual leads, because they haven't led anywhere. Yet, for some reasons, a lot of people still consider him an expert on the case. He's still very active on Reddit and other places, babbling on about a bunch of bullshit. Anyways, I could go on, but I won't. I'm not going to speculate about what happened to Maura, but back to little Jimmy. No, I don't think Bigfoot snatched Maura Murray. No, I won't help you with the case. If anything, I want to punch you in your ugly potato head face, but just out of general principle. But if you do want some professional advice, man to man, little Jimmy, I would say grow up, be a man, Stop exploiting the death of a missing person to make a living. Go to a dentist. Maybe respect the wishes of the family and withdraw yourself from the case. They don't need your help. You have never solved anything. You've never found anyone. Like I said, you can't even find a toothbrush. You think you're going to find Maura Murray? No. You're not a detective. You're not an investigative journalist. You're just a grifter. So, little Jimmy, please just crawl back in the slimy hole that you came from and leave the Maura Murray family and everybody in New Hampshire alone. All right? Last thing is suck it, loser.